Good morning to you. My name is Eva Baham, and I was asked to chair the Repatriation Committee, first by Dr. Ryan Ray from the University of New Orleans. Thank you so much for asking me. This has been quite a journey and a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to honor those who have come before us and also call us to what we can do and be today. Taking Chance related the journey of a military officer and others like him, whose duty was to escort a fallen soldier back home. The gripping story captured the military officer's commitment to remain with the fallen until he arrived back home. The soldier's precious possessions, his last letter to his family, his comforting words delivered to them, said, "He is home. This is your final resting place." All the townspeople gathered, including Chance's best friend, and they served as witnesses to his life. They told about his childhood, about his ardent commitment to serving his country. My heart warmed, knowing all about the living Chance. So I learned a lot about Chance. But what we know and what we don't know about these 19 African descendant people whose last sight was of 1871 New Orleans, described as you heard by Dr. Gallery. It haunts us. In the collective stream of our African American cultural consciousness here in South Louisiana and in New Orleans, there is a spiritual awareness of the desires of the dying. That when someone is seriously ill and those around them know that it is their last moments, and that the dying ask for someone, we say in our cultural understanding, they are calling for you. One of the worst things that could happen if they call for you and you don't come, there is a reckoning that you must live with, because out of their last words was your name. So calling someone, calling for them is important. What we don't know that haunts us is, who did they call for? What we do know in our research of them is that they were in a place dying, it seems, by themselves. Two of those dying were women who were in what at the time is called an insane asylum, a horrible place in the 19th century world, in our global societies. Those were the unwanted, the discarded. Those were the people that someone thought something was wrong with them. One of the women had epilepsy. We know that that's not evil, but that meant she was thrown in there. One of them, a 55-year-old woman, was just sick. And in these institutions around the world, the people who were thrown in there and left in there, and particularly here in the South, They were separated by being black or white, poor or wealthy. And so you could know that if a poor black woman was in that institution at the time, that she was in deplorable conditions. Her femininity was compromised. So what we know about them is that many of them, 10 of the 19, weren't even from New Orleans. And in our cultural understanding in the South, when we say someone is from somewhere, that means that's where they were born, not just where they lived for a while. 10 of them had been here less than 6 years. They had come from all kinds of places. They had come from Kentucky. They had come from Memphis, Missouri. They come from North Carolina, Tennessee, and Virginia, and Mobile, Alabama, outside of New Orleans and Plaquemines Parish, Florida and Virginia, South Carolina, and a place called Stevens Plantation, in North Carolina again, and in Virginia. And they were born in all kinds of other places. So we assume in our, and I think rightly so in our research, as Ms. Freddie Evans and I were charged with that aspect of the committee, we think we are right in saying that many of them were probably enslaved, had been enslaved. Here 6 years after the Civil War, they were moving around in this city and other southern cities. If they were, had any of them had been freeborn, we don't know that yet. I just want to share with you the insights that we had. That we did some genealogy to see if we could find them. We looked at census records, we looked at directories. We looked at all kinds of things here that were accessible to us to see if we can find them so that we can see if any descendants could come forward. But we can't be sure exactly where they came from. And so here we have them. And what are we to make of what happened to them? You can be angry. You can be upset. Rightly so. But we can't stay there. One of the things that I share with students over my career in higher education and as a historian is to say that history is not to wallow in or wind about. It is to build on. It is to move forward. And when we keep our past hidden, we're starting over every day. One of the things that when I have students write to me and tell me what they're doing or call me, I sometimes end it with keep the planet turning. Keep moving. I want to share with you that these people's lives had meaning. In our solemn, quiet ceremony on their arrival at the Rose Funeral Home on May 15th, we gathered, and based on our research, we each read, starting with the mayor and President Gilderay, the committee, city staff, road staff, we read something about each person because they still live with us. And it was so heartwarming because we were saying over and over, they're here. They are here. Let me just share a brief part of what I read that day from Viktor Frankl's Search for Meaning. He's talking to people in what he called the hut in the concentration camp in the Holocaust. He's talking to other Jewish people who don't know what's going to happen to them. its joys, and how its light shone even in the midst of darkness. I quoted a poet said who had written, quoting, "What you have experienced, no power on earth can take from you." Not only our experiences, but all we have done, all they have done, whatever great thoughts we may have had, and all we have suffered, all this is not lost, though it is past. We have brought it into being. Having been is also a kind of being, and perhaps the surest kind. Then I spoke of many opportunities of giving life meaning. I told my comrades that human life under any circumstances never ceases to have a meaning, and that this infinite meaning of life includes suffering and dying, privation, and ultimately death. I asked those who listened to me attentively in the darkness of that hut in the concentration camp to face up to the seriousness of our position, that they must not lose hope, but should keep their courage in the certainty that the hopelessness of our struggle did not detract from its dignity and its meaning. I said that someone looks down on each of us in difficult hours. A friend, a wife, somebody alive or dead, or God, and he would not expect us to disappoint him. He would hope to find us suffering proudly, not miserably, and knowing how to die. And finally, I spoke about sacrifice, which had meaning in every case. It was in the nature of this sacrifice that it should appear to be pointless in the normal world, the world of material success. But in reality, our sacrifice did have meaning. Those of us who had any religious faith, I said frankly, could understand without difficulty. I told them of a comrade coming into the concentration camp, who on his arrival in the camp had tried to make a pact with heaven that his suffering and his death could save the human being he loved so much from a painful end. And for this man, suffering and death were meaningful. His was a sacrifice of the deepest significance. He did not die for nothing. None of us wanted that. They did not die for nothing. Because what they have left us, they left us with two professors at the University of Leipzig who came into their work 3 years ago and saw what was here, and as Dr. Gilbert said, we can't leave this unfinished. And they started contacting people and contacted us here in New Orleans. And they packaged them ever so carefully and lovingly. Actually, Ms. Wagner made flowers for each one. Stayed all night. One more touch. And then when they arrived here in New Orleans, Ms. Rose called me and said, they're going to be in the airport. We're going to send somebody to pick them up. And I said, please don't let anybody else touch them but your people. And we have all those wonderful videos. Only they touched them. Beautiful linen boxes with a flower and names on each one. Our hope for today is embedded in coming to making a proposal. We need money to do some things. And we sent it to University Medical Center. Ms. Charlotte Heron answered right back. I consulted with my CEO, the General Counsel. We will fund this. We have no reason to be angry and carry it on. continuously, but we have a reason to say there are people among us who want to do something to carry us forward. President Hillary, could you help us? Could we meet at Dillard? She opened everything up here for us. The chapel, meeting places in the president's boardroom, all of what Dillard has to offer, her staff. They're here doing this today. They don't usually work today, but they're here. Our committee members, you heard call all their names. Do you know from a year ago we have met every week? I'll just let you in this personal note. My husband, like, where are you going now? Can't tell. I'm going to Dillard. Okay, just can't tell you what it's about. He only knew 2 weeks ago what was happening. My sons said, well, we don't have to worry about her. She's always moving around. I don't know what she's doing. They just found that out as well. So as Dr. Hillary said, we had to act when nobody was looking. And all of them, you see over here, they came without pay. And as each took their task, and later able to contact people, I don't know how many times Freddie Evans asked when can we start talking to people so we can get this going. When they started talking to people, they were so moved. We met every other week with the mayor's staff at City Hall. And they assured us in their contact with the mayor she's supportive. And in my meetings with her, she's been supportive. All of these people had to come together. And Dr. Michael White heard that we needed a solo. He wrote this piece in the last week for us today. Life has meaning. All of the people you see on the back of your program, if you know them, tell them thank you because they came together. Ms. Evans told me that, and Dr. Smith told me that as they talked to these students, all of whom you see sitting here, they were so anxious. They were so excited that they wanted to be a part of this. They came willingly to a practice that seemed to go on and on the other night. But Dr. Smith had them all working, Ms. King, all of them, they had Ms. Evans, they had them all organized. I'm saying to them that you move on. You don't forget. God gave us a memory. We are not to forget. I am with my Jewish brothers and sisters who say never forget. But take that memory, take these souls, and say what we are going to do with all of the people from various cultures and traditions who came together, and say that what you're going to do is to make the world what it intends to be. And I'm closing here with this prayer. It is a benediction from 1996 by Bishop Woody White. And now, may the Lord torment you. May the Lord keep before you the faces of the hungry, the lonely, the rejected, and the despised. May the Lord afflict you with pain for the hurt, the wounded, the oppressed, the abused, the victims of violence. May God grace you with agony, a burning thirst for justice and righteousness. May the Lord give you courage. This is the hope. This is your charge. May the Lord give you courage and strength and compassion. The compassion that all the people who did this came together today to make ours a better world, to make your community a better community, to make your religious institution a better one. May you do your best to make it so. And after you have done your best, may God grant you peace.